जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जसोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन जसोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरा बनचारी यमुना तीरा बनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय जसोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन जसोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरा बनचारी यमुना जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद जय Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya. Jaya Gauranitai, Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya. Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Vrindavan Dham, Jaya. Jaya Lalita Visakha, Jaya Radhe Shyam, Lalita Visakha, Jaya Radhe Shyam. Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nittai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, गुरुदेव श्रील गुरुदेव। नित्यलय पविष्ट जयं विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शतश्री श्रीमद एसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी जगद्गुरु शिल प्रभुपाद की। नित्यलीला पविष्ट जयं विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शतश्री श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत गोस्वामी शिल प्रभुपाद की। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव भक्त वृंद की। नामाचार्य शिल हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। श्री श्री प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीभासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री वृंदावन मथुरा धाम की जय। श्री श्री नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय। श्री श्री पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा महारानी की जय। श्री श्री द्वारका धाम की जय। श्री श्री बद्रिका धाम की जय। श्री श्री अयोध्या धाम की जय। श्री श्री कृष्ण भक्ति पदायिनी श्री श्री तुलसी महारानी की। श्री श्री वृंदा देवी की जय। श्री श्री गंगा मैया जमुना मैया की जय। श्री श्री शिल प्रभुपाद ट्रांसडेंटल बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की जय। श्री श्री पुरुषोत्तम मास की जय। श्री श्री जुगधर्म श्री श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की पतित पावन श्री श्री हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की। All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Guruvan Gauranga Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrutyam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayesu Abhadresu नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। Hare Krishna. So first of all, I will like to offer my humble obeisances at the lotus feet of all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, and I will seek their blessings so that I can speak something which I have heard or little bit I have understood from the Srila Prabhupada's books and other senior Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. And I am not a very qualified speaker like you all are hearing Ramayana Katha from Ramakant Prabhu, and also Paramatmāyam Prabhu. He is a very scholarly person. But professionally I belong to a field where not much shastric experience is there. Suddenly Dharmatma Prabhu told me yesterday to give a class, and I got the sloka very late. So maybe my preparation may not be up to the mark. A lot of senior Vaishnavis, our Anandmai Mataji and Suchitra Mataji and many other Vaishnavas are there. So I have no qualification to speak in front of them. So I will seek their humble blessings so that I can speak something for my own purification and for the pleasure of our lordships. So I was asked to speak on this chapter 13. All of you are hearing regularly from various senior Vaishnavas. So yesterday you must have heard the 31st verse. So we are at in chapter number 13, Nature, Danger and Consciousness. That is the title. And today we are going to take up the 32nd verse. So I'll first like to recite. Anāditvān nirguṇatvāt paramātmāyam avyayaḥ शरीरस्थोऽपि कौन्तेय न करोति न लिप्यते anāditvān nirguṇatvāt paramātmāyam avyayaḥ śarīra-stho kaunteya na karoti na lipyate anāditvān nirguṇatvāt paramātmāyam avyayaḥ śarīra-stho kaunteya na karoti na lipyate. Can anybody like to recite? anāditvān nirguṇatvāt paramātmāyam avyayaḥ śarīra-stho kaunteya na karoti na lipyate anāditvān nirguṇatvāt paramātmāyam avyayaḥ śarīra-stho kaunteya na karoti na lipyate. Vaishnavis, anybody like to recite? anāditvān nirguṇatvāt paramātmāyam avyayaḥ śarīra-stho kaunteya na karoti na lipyate. So what word meaning? anāditvāt, due to eternity. nirguṇatvāt, due to being transcendental. parama, beyond material nature. ātmā, spirit. ayam, this. avyayaḥ, inexhaustible. śarīra-sthaḥ, dwelling in the body. api, though. kaunteya, O son of Kuntī, na karoti, never does anything. Na lipyate, nor is entangled. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Those with the vision of eternity can see that the imperishable soul is transcendental, eternal, and beyond the modes of nature. Despite contact with the material body, O Arjuna, the soul neither does anything nor is entangled. So the purport is a very short purport. A living entity appears to be born because of the birth of the material body. But actually, the living entity is eternal. He is not born, and in spite of his being situated in the material body, he is transcendental and eternal. Thus, he cannot be destroyed. By nature, he is full of bliss. He does not engage himself in any material activities. Therefore, the activities performed due to his contact with material bodies do not entangle him. Om ajnānatimirandhasya jnānāñjana-salakaya चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुश्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितं हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपीकान्त राधा कान्त नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदान्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरतसे नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृन्द। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदिनतारिणं श्रीपरमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्येश्वरम्। Hare Krishna. So, as I said, this today's verse, it is Jnana Yoga. So, we are in the chapter number 13, where Arjuna, in the beginning of this chapter, all of you must have heard, he asked 6 questions. What are those questions? What he asked for 6 identities. What is this Kshetra? What is Kshetrajna? What is knowledge and what is the object of knowledge, that is Jnana and Gaya, and what is Prakriti and Purusa. So these are the 6 questions. So till now, this section, this is the last section. It starts from the verse number 27 to till the end of this chapter. So this is where Krishna is further explaining what is the vision. What is the vision of a person who is situated in complete knowledge? That is called Jnana Chakshu. This entire section is called Jnana Chakshu. So how a person who is in full knowledge, how he sees the things as it is. That is the entitle of this topic, of this section. And so far I presume those who are regularly hearing, you must have heard the 27th verse. This section, the beginning of this section, 27 verse, what Krishna is telling? Krishna is telling there are 2 things which, whether you consider this body or the material universe, there are 2 things. One is Kshetra and Kshetrajna. Kshetra means made up of this Prakriti, and Kshetrajna means who knows about this Kshetra, that is the body. So there are 2 Kshetrajnas. All of you must have heard that one is the soul and second is the super soul. That is the ātmā and paramātmāyam. So far this 27 verse is concerned, Krishna is telling Arjuna that there is nothing else but the Paramatma, as of all of you must have heard in Srimad Bhagavatam. This entire universe was created, just like this body is created. Because how the activity is going on? Because the presence of the super soul. And the soul and the super soul. Unless the soul and super soul are there, there is no growth, no activity. Similarly, in the universe also, unless Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu, he enters this universe, there will be no initiation of activity. The same thing here, in this 27th verse, Krishna is explaining to Arjuna that because of this presence of the soul and super soul, and there is interaction. The super soul actually, he sets everything into motion. And there is interaction between the Kshetra and Kshetrajna, especially the soul and the body. So that is the sum and substance of 27th verse. And then next verse, in 28th verse, Krishna is explaining Arjuna that what is the vision of a true seer. True seer means those who have matured vision. There are 2 types of vision. One is material vision, one is spiritual vision. Material vision means we see thus the body, the outer covering, isn't it? So just like in Bhagavad Gita, you must have heard a very famous sloka, that is the 5th chapter, verse number 18, where Krishna says, Vidya vinay sampanne brahmane gavi hastini suniche supakecha panditaha samadarshinaha. So who is a pandit? He has an equal vision. So there are 3 things here. You see, there are 3 modes of nature, the different living entities are categorized. So first is brahmane gavi hastini. Brahmana means Brahmin, and gavi means a cow. They are in sattva-guna. They are in the mode of goodness. And then the next is hastini, means elephant. He is a mode of passion. And the last 2 are sunicha supakecha. Supakecha means there is dog and the dog eater, the chandal. They are in mode of ignorance. All 3 people, they are different. So a normal person, he sees the outer aspect, he distinguishes based on the bodily platform. But those who have a higher vision, they can only see the ātmā and paramātmā. Of course, it's not so easy unless one reaches the stage of Brahmabhuta stage, which is very, very rarely we see. It's not so easy to reach that stage. It has 8 symptoms. It is described in the 5th chapter, slok, and verse number 18, 20, 21. These 2 slokas, they have mentioned what are the different symptoms of a Brahmabhuta stage. A person, a soul, when he is fully transcendental, that means he is, just like you must have heard a very famous sloka in the 18th chapter, Brahmabhuta prasannatmana sachoti nakankhasdi samah sarvesu bhutesu madbhaktim lavate param. So bhakti starts at the Brahmabhuta stage. So what is that stage? Na sachoti nakankhati. Whenever we get something pleasant, which is very favorable to our sense gratification, we become very happy, we rejoice. So that is our nature. But a person in Brahmabhuta stage, he doesn't get rejoice when he gets a pleasant thing. But on the opposite thing, when he gets an unpleasant thing, he doesn't lament. So these are the 2 first characteristics. And the second one is, he is in full knowledge of the signs of God. That is the Brahmana. Brahma iti janati Brahmana. Similarly, and also, that is why he is transcendentally situated. Transcendental means he is beyond these 3 modes. Nistraiguna bhavarjuna. Krishna tells in the 2nd chapter to Arjuna. So, a Brahmabhuta means he is already beyond the 3 modes of material nature. Okay? And these are the 4 initial symptoms. The next 2 symptoms are, a Brahmabhuta person, he has no material desire. That means he doesn't enjoy anything material in this material world. So what he does, how he enjoys things? He enjoys things internally. That means everything he rejoices inside the antahkarana. Antahkarana means you can call it mind, you can call it intelligence, and you can call it as a consciousness, depending on the situation. So a Brahmabhuta stage, he means everything is internal. That is how he sees the role of the Paramatma. Every situation he sees the Atma and Paramatma are acting. So like that. So, and the last thing is, his intelligence is fixed. Sthita prajna. In Srimad Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna describes the symptoms of his sthita prajna from verse number 54 to 72 till the end of this chapter. So, you must have heard about repeatedly. So, then if intelligence is fixed, then he is not bewildered. He is not bewildered by the external energy. So, these are the 8 symptoms of a person who is reached the Brahmabhuta stage. Maybe it may not be very palatable. Prabhuji was talking very rasa and bhakti rasa. This is a bit more of jnana. So I don't know whether you will like this, but any mistakes, Mataji are there to correct me. So I'm not a very good at philosophy, but somehow I'm trying whatever I have understood from this sloka. Then in the 28th verse, Krishna is telling Arjuna, see, there are 3 things. One is ātmā, paramātmā, and the prakriti. All 3 are different. And one person who has reached that stage of paramatma realization, he can see everybody in equal platform. The example I gave is this sloka. That's the Brahmana, a cow, or a elephant, or a chandala, or a dog. Everybody in equal platform. Because he doesn't see the outer body. So like that, then what next Krishna is telling? And also, he sees they are different from each other, and this activity has been governed by the Paramatma. That means the mind is so controlled, he has already reached the Paramatma. That is the 28th verse. Then 29th, he summarized that same sloka, and in 30th verse, that means this is a true seer. True seer means it's not by eye. So it requires that knowledge. It's a platform. It's a consciousness. It's a matter of consciousness. So just like when we came to this Krishna consciousness movement, we are not very learned. So gradually our consciousness is getting purified by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, by associating devotees, by coming to various temple activities with the morning program given by Srila Prabhupada. So like that, when our consciousness is fully purified, there's not a tinge of material desire. So that means the Brahmabhuta stage. So in the 30th verse, I'm just making it quick forward because time is short. So basically, Krishna is telling that what is the vision of a true seer in respect to the Jiva and Prakriti. Okay, in that, the very important thing, which is the sum and substance of this sloka. You can see the last line of this today's verse. It says, what is that? It says, na karoti, na lipyate. So we'll go word by word after I come to this sloka. So that means he doesn't do any action. And lipyate means he is not entangled. The intelligence of the soul is not entangled. So that entangle word is very important. So if you refer, so basically no karoti means he is not the doer. Soul is not the doer. Okay, then who is the doer? Obviously the question comes, any action. Most of us we think, though I am doing some work, that means soul is working. But Krishna, if you go back to the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita and 27th verse, what Krishna says? Prakriti jan, what is that sloka? Aham ahankara bhimudatma. What is that sloka? Prakrute kriyamanani gunai karmani savasah. Ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. So ahankara means because of the false ego, the soul thinks I am the doer. So then the answer in various places, in 5th chapter, very elaborately Krishna explains to Arjuna, who is the real doer. If you come to the 5th chapter, first Krishna is telling the Arjuna, so in the 14th verse of 5th chapter, that is the summary of the entire thing, where Krishna says, there are 3 doers, that is not just one doer. So the first one is the soul, because soul desire. Soul, ichha. Ichha means avilas, desire. The soul desires, and soul has the power that he can ascertain the thing and he can contemplate. That is why he is also the doer. Though soul is not doing anything, because in the 30th verse, Krishna is flatly refusing Arjuna that soul is not the doer. Who is the doer? The Prakriti, the nature is the doer, right? So, in the same sloka, you go back to 3rd chapter, 27th verse, ahankara bhimudatma kartaham iti manyate. So, Prakriti is doing everything, but the ātmā, who is not in full knowledge, he is thinking, I am the doer, right? So, in context to that, the 14th verse of 5th chapter in Bhagavad Gita also, it says that there are 3 doers, and the first thing is the karta. Karta means doer, that is the soul is also, he is desiring, and the Prakriti. What is the role of a Prakriti? Prakriti gives the ingredients, the 3 modes of material nature. It gives the facilities. You want to do something, so it will give all the ingredients, right? And what is the role of a super soul? And it gives upadrashta and anumanta. It gives it is the overseer, and it gives the sanction. Unless the super soul sanction, nothing is going to happen. But all these things are not correct. Again, in the 14th verse, the real answer comes, it is the sobhava. Sobhava means the nature of the soul which he has acquired from the, if you go to the 17th chapter also, the Arjuna asks one question, why some people are devotees, some people are demoniac, some people prefer to go to demigods, some people are worshipping, Krishna, some people are worshipping ghosts, some people are worshipping human being. So on what basis the distinction is there? Then Krishna gives a very wonderful answer. Krishna says, it's based on the nature one has acquired at the time of birth. It's actually from time immemorial. We see in many of us, we have a prominent anartha in our heart. Somebody is very bit angry, somebody is a bit lusty, somebody is a bit greedy. So one of the anartha is prominent. That means what? Somebody is rajoguni, so he'll be all these 3. Kama, lobha, and this kama, krodha and lobha. These 4 which are a gateway of hell. So like that, so depending on the nature which the soul has acquired, then the sobhava is found. Sobhava means it cannot be separated from the soul. It's the nature. So sobhava, in other words, if you explain, that means in so many previous lives, we have done so many activities, and with each action there is an impression. It's like a plain book. If I give you a book and ask you to write something on the book, so it will be permanently written, right? So that means it is imprinted forever. So similarly, in various innumerable lives, we have done so many things which have been imprinted, or it has been, it's called vasana. It's also called vasana. So whenever the circumstances comes, the favorable situation comes, the desire comes. So the root cause of our material existence, there is a desire. And our activities. These 2 are the causes why the soul again and again takes birth. Dehinasmin jatha dehe komaram jovanam jara tatha dehantarapapti dhirastitana. So that means soul is changing the body. And the next, in the same chapter, 2nd chapter, Krishna says, he's elaborately describing Arjuna. Just like we change the old dress and wear the new dress. So similarly, the body it become useless, and it gets dwindled, and then it gets a new body. So similarly, but the super soul is also going along with the soul. Okay, so whenever the soul is going, the mind, intelligence and ego that carries the soul and the super soul. That you all know. And then the next three verses, and Krishna is elaborately telling how the soul is eternal. Because in this sloka, it is described anāditvān. Coming to this sloka, anādi means anādi. That has no beginning and no end. So actually, if you see our two acharyas, one is our Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and other is Baldev Vidyabhushan. Based on their commentary, Srila Prabhupada has given the entire commentary, his own commentary. But if you see their commentary, Prabhupada has taken Baldev Vidyabhushan's opinion, his tika, his commentary. But whereas Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he has meant the second thing is paramātmāyam avyayaḥ. So paramatma means it is super soul, but the also meaning is parama ātmā. Parama ātmā ayam avyayaḥ. Parama means it is inexhaustible. Abhaya is inexhaustible. Ātmā is ayam, and this ātmā, and this and then what are the other two adjectives? Anāditvān. Anāditvān means it has no adi, it has no beginning, no end. So it can mean both paramatma, it can mean also atma, because both have no beginning. But if you see, Prabhupada as very earlier it was said ki the soul is a fragmental part. Mame vansa jivaloka jiva bhuta. Krishna also says, you are all my part and parcel. But since when the soul become fragmented, nobody knows, from time immemorial. So like that, in that sense also, and then nirguṇatvāt. Nirguṇatvāt means it's beyond the three modes of material nature. But if you see Baldev Vidyabhushan, he gives little different meaning of this nirguṇatvāt. He also agrees it is beyond the three modes, it is beyond the gunas. So because the point is, why I am telling this, see there are two things. One is the soul and super soul. Both stays in the body, and body is prakriti, is made up of matter, right? So then why the soul is entangled, whereas the super soul is not entangled? This is the question. The reason is, the soul is thinking I am the doer, but the super soul is thinking I am not the doer. And soul has the enjoying mentality, but super soul has no enjoying mentality. All of you must have heard in Upanishad, where it is said in the branch there are two birds sitting, and one is just enjoying the fruit, like the jiva, and the super soul, he is just sanctioning and he is overseeing. Okay, so that's why he is not entangled. So, but the jiva, because of his enjoying mentality, once we give up this enjoying mentality, so where from this enjoying mentality comes? Enjoying mentality comes, that is the Adi Rasa, where Krishna also enjoys with all the Brajavasis there, all the gopis and gopas. So the same tendency is there with us in a perverted form. So the root cause of this enjoyment is we have denied to serve Krishna. So there is a that is called perverted. It has become mutilated. So that is called lust. In 3rd chapter, verse number 37 onwards, very elaborately Krishna has described why the jivatma is entangled in this karma and in this body. That is because he is covered by the knowledge. The real knowledge is covered by ignorance. So what is the root cause of ignorance? The root cause of ignorance is lust. Okay, lust means when the serving mentality becomes enjoying mentality, and that lust can be also transformed again to love if everything, whatever activity we do, just like in temple we are doing so many activities, but the result if you give to Krishna means detachment. We should do our activity. Somebody is staying in a grahastha life, he should do his activity but without any attachment. Then he is not entangled. So this whole sloka tells how a jivatma staying inside the body also, he can be also free from entanglement. Then śarīra-stho, P. Śarīra-stho means, śarīra means this body, stho means śarīra-stho, api, also staying in the body. Kaunteya means, O son of Kuntī, na karoti na lipyate. He is not doing anything, neither he is entangled. So in this, as I was telling, there are three doers, but if you go to chapter 18, there Krishna more clearly says about the doership. Who is the real doer? Okay, so Krishna says there are 5 factors in every action. What is that verse? Chapter 18, verse number 14. So there Krishna says, the first is the field of activity, the body is there, and the karta means the doer, that is the soul is there, and the consciousness which is reflected on the false ego, that is the same thing, that is karta, and there is also chesta, there is endeavor, and The third factor is the upkaran. Upkaran means the material nature which gives the senses and the body whatever requirements. And the last thing is called daivam. Daivam means it is the super soul. Unless the super soul sanctions, nothing is going to happen. I'll just give a crude example. Suppose you have built a very good factory or a big hospital. You have done the construction, you have brought all the equipments, you have employed the employees, everything is done. So next day, the Honorable Chief Minister is supposed to come and he has to do the inauguration. Suppose suddenly the government says, no, you cannot start the factory or the hospital. So that means it is of no use. So similarly, if you see the Paramatma is the actual doer. If you analyze everything, unless the Paramatma sanctions, nothing is, Jivatma cannot do any activity. Even the lifting the hand or even talking, understanding, whatever activity we are doing, everything is governed by the Paramatma. But if you see otherwise also, who is providing this body? See, Mahatattva, from Pradhan the Mahatattva comes, and from there the false ego, then the intelligence, then the mind, and that order, then the vacuum, and that is the then air, and then water, fire, water and earth. In that order it comes. And the dissolution occurs just in the opposite order. You must have read in Srimad Bhagavatam. So that is how the creation takes place and the dissolution takes place in the opposite direction. So in that, you see, where from Mahavishnu's body, everything is stored. The Pradhan, then when it is agitated by the time factor and the three modes are set into motion, all these things are described in Bhagavatam. So that Mahatattva or the Pradhan is also part of Mahavishnu. That is also Paramatma's part only, right? And also if you see, without the sanction of Paramatma, if he doesn't give us the intelligence and the energy, the soul, Jivatma cannot do any activity. So the chesta, and that is endeavor, and also the upkaran, the senses are also been provided by Paramatma. See, if you see all five factors, everything is been provided by the Paramatma. So the real doer is Paramatma. Without his, and Krishna says in the next verse, in chapter 18, if a person, he only sees the soul as the doer, he is called Durmati. Durmati means he's a fool. He has not much intelligence. Right? So that is how we have understood. And Prabhupada also writes in this purport that a living entity appears to be born. So actually what takes birth is the body. Right? But because the soul is staying inside the body and it is in contact with all the gunas, that is why we misidentify with this body. If you go back, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he refers to the 22nd verse of this chapter, where Prabhupada quotes this very frequently. He says, Karanam gunasangasya sad asad janma jonisu. Karanam gunasangasya. Because this soul is in touch with the guna, three modes of material nature, that is how he identifies himself, misidentifies rather, with the body. And there are four reasons why the soul has to take rebirth. The first reason is misidentifies with the body. The second is he has material desire, and the third one, he wants to lord it over material nature, thinking himself the enjoyer, where Krishna should be the real enjoyer. And the fourth one is the misuse of the free will. Every living entity has a free will, and if he misuses the free will, then he is entangled. Once he stops these four things, he is beyond the material desire, he stops, he properly utilizes his free will for the service of the Lord, and he stops lording of the material nature, then he is disentangled. So this sloka very clearly says, 22nd verse, which Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur refers, the reason why the soul is entangled. So there, guna sangasya. So how a soul can stay and simultaneously he cannot take the association. In the next 33 and 34th, the coming verse, which we'll be hearing tomorrow and day after, there Krishna gives two very nice analogies. What are the analogies? The first one is, he says the sky. The sky means that is akas. So it is all pervading. The sky, the vacuum is there everywhere. But because of its subtle nature, it is not been contaminated by any other factors like earth, water, fire and air. It doesn't entangle with that. So that example is given, and the second example is given the sun. The sun, it spreads by the sun rays to different parts. It's a bit philosophical. I don't know whether you are able to get it or not. So why I am giving this soul is compared to the sun, or it is compared to the sky, where the soul is staying in Ishvara Sarvabhutana Hridaya Tishtati. So it is staying in the heart region, but it is spreading the whole body through the consciousness. So right, it's the consciousness actually, when it is falsely reflected in the false ego, that is where the soul get entangled. Okay, so that is the main reason why Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur he also mentions. So, so these two analogies Krishna is giving to dissipate the doubts. That how even staying, and the other example which is given, just like a lotus leaf. If you put a drop of water, it will just not make it wet. It will just go around and it will fall down. Right? So similarly, the soul, once he gives up the doership mentality and the enjoying mentality, these two things. What a sannyasi does actually? Sannyasi, he is free from these two. He never thinks I am the doer. He never thinks I am the enjoyer. Everything he gives the ear to the Krishna. Okay, so and he is free from attachment. He does all activities. Sannyasi does in everything. I am talking from Bhagavad Gita. I am not telling anything beyond. So the sum and substance of this sloka is, once the soul gives up the doership mentality, he is disentangled. And then Prabhupada also says, but if one understands the Supreme is situated in his Paramatma manifestation everywhere. See, the Paramatma is spreading, as I said, the sun and the sky. It is all pervading. Right? Vibhu and Vishnu. Vishnu means all pervading. So, that if one can see the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in every living thing, he does not degrade himself to the this is from 29.32, sorry. Thus, he cannot be destroyed. By nature, he is full of bliss. So, what is the nature of the Paramatma? Sat Chit Anandamaya. The soul is also eternal. But why soul is not getting that Ananda? Because it is covered by ignorance. And that ignorance can be removed once the intelligence is sharpened by bhakti. So, ultimately, it boils down to bhakti. Unless we sharpen our intelligence by dradha bhakti, that means the strength of, that is called bhakti bal, spiritual strength. By that, that is the answer Krishna gives in the end of the third chapter. How to remove this ignorance, which is called nitya vairi. It is the eternal enemy of the soul. So it's all at the mental platform. When the soul thinks, I am this, I am doer, it's a matter of thought. So once that thought is clarified, just like Prabhuji was telling, Shraddha. Everything is based on Shraddha. So like it's a consciousness basically. So similarly, once the mentality goes away, so see, the soul and super soul both are together. One is entangled, one is not getting entangled. So if somebody, all of us, none of us are at Brahmabhuta stage. Maybe few of you may be there. But most of us are at a conditioned stage. Okay. So just by, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur very nicely explains that just by thinking that how the Paramatma, this is a knowledge basically, just getting that knowledge that Paramatma is not entangled, the soul also can remain as it is. We see very many pure devotees, and we see their activities. They are not entangled. Lord Brahma, he is a pure devotee. Lord Shiva, they are all beyond the three modes of material nature. Actually, Brahma is within the three modes, but this Brahma of this our universe, he is a pure devotee. So he is beyond the three modes of material nature. So it's a short purport. I will like to end. So there are many other things we can discuss, like Baldev Vidyabhushan also, he takes a very important sloka from a Shruti Praman, where Bruhad Aranya Upanishad, he quotes that the 24 elements are there, and the soul, once it merges with the 24 elements, everything is finished. It's like a Mayavadi theory. So this sloka, actually it says, it nullifies the Mayavadi. So this sloka, Baldev Vidyabhushan has quoting to counteract the Mayavadi theory, as per that Shruti Praman. So this is where I will like to, there are 5 minutes, so not much to say about this. Of course, if you see the entire, I am just covering the Bhagavad Gita and Chaitanya Charitamrita also Madhya Lila. There is a very nice sloka. I will like to recite it to all of you. So it is told by just like a king. The analogy is giving just like a king. Sometimes king wants to punish somebody. What he does? The king sometimes tell his soldiers, you take this person, you merge his head inside the river, and he'll be very restless. Just release it. He'll come out and again merge and take it out. So similarly, all the jivatmas, all the in this who are entangled in this material world. So Maya, what it is doing, just like the very nice sloka, I'm just not getting it. So Chaitanya Charitamrita also it is mentioned. So this, so consciousness basically it's not matter, it is spiritual. Okay. So with this I will like to end my talk, and I will like to get some correction from Mataji. Our Anandi Mataji, she is very good at taking classes also. And she told me before coming here I will be there. So I don't know, whatever little bit I could understand. So was it little clear or it was very confusing? So ātmā and paramātmāyam, it's a comparison basically. Why Paramatma is not entangled, why ātmā is entangled. So the whole sloka is, who is the real doer? Okay. So the real doer is the Paramatma. And also there are other doers also. The soul is also doing, and Prakriti is also doing. So all three has to, all 5 factors in fact, they have to be taken into consideration. Then it is complete knowledge. Right? And Brahma-bhuta stage, it is there in 18th chapter also, and also in 5th chapter. So yes, Prabhuji.
Mind is also said to be the doer.
Mind is?
Also said to be the main doer actually.
Yes.
Manamanushyanam karanam bandha moksha.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, mind is the cause of bondage, mind is the cause of liberation also. So everything is centered around the mind. So you are right. That is why in the 30th words in this chapter, you must have heard, 29th and 30th. Once the mind is completely purified from this association of the modes, that means Paramatma is already reached. That means one is already seen the Paramatma. You have seen Paramatma means you don't have to bother. You got my point? The same sloka, that means you are not at the doership platform. So it is, that's why Krishna says the first you have to engage the senses. It's not so easy to engage the mind, right? So first engage the senses are easy to engage. Then once all the senses are engaged, that is Rishikena, Rishikesha Sevanam, that is Bhakti. Then the mind will automatically get control. That's why we do this chanting, all these processes are giving around the mind. You are right. Mind is the central point in this. So that's why I told, it's the thinking, it's a thought. The soul is thinking something else, the super soul is thinking something else. Whereas those who are in the Brahma-bhuta stage, their thoughts are different. The only difference in the thought, that's all. And that comes if as I said, the Sobhava. Sobhava, it will not go so easily. Till the end of the death. And in the next life also, the Sobhava continues. But somehow, if the soul fully surrender to the super soul, and then there is like both will be on the same platform. That is what Krishna says, and it's not so easy. We have seen many, when the Sobhava comes into action, the particular circumstance comes, you will be doing the same thing again and again. And mind has a nature, if it has gone to a thing, it will like to go again and again and again the same thing, because of this Sobhava. Okay, so Sobhava is the main thing which is doing everything.
Actually, we can't...
Your voice is not clear, can you tell?
We can't fully surrender. Actually, our work will be done by the grace of the Supreme.
Yes, you are absolutely right. Everything will be done by Super Soul. Once we are surrendered, we have nothing to do. Everything will be done. Just like pure devotees, you see, all their actions, all their thoughts, all their activities, that is why they are nidosa. One of the 26 Vaishnava qualities, they have no faults. That is because everything is done by the Super Soul. And they get the prompting from the heart. that by the super soul, you do this, you do that. Mataji would like to give some opinion. Can you give the mic to Anand? I would like to give some.
Hare Krishna. That sloka you wanted from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Kabhu narake dubai, kabhu swarage uthaye.
Yes, that's
Dandya jane jene raja nadite dubai.
yes, yes.
So
Thank you.
when we are doing some pious work,
Yes.
we go to the
Sarga.
upper planetary system
Yes.
and we enjoy there.
Yes.
Khina punya
Martaloke
matta lokang vishanti. Again we fall to this
Yes.
earth. Similarly, if we do some sinful activities,
Yes.
then we go to the lower planetary system and suffer there. And that you told, then as a king orders to put the man inside the water,
Yes, yes.
and once he become breathless,
Yes.
the person takes just up, and then he takes a breath, and he feels that now I am enjoying, and again they
Puts
put
down.
inside the water. Again he become breathless. So the enjoyment, there is no enjoyment in this earth.
Yes.
Only when we are free from suffering,
Yes.
we feel that it is enjoyment. As that person who is breathless inside the water, when taken up, he is free from that breathless problem, and he feels that I am all right now. Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Prabhuji.
Mataji. Thank you
have
very
so-
much for your nice
You have
comments.
discussed so nicely. Thank you very
I'm
much.
in the learning phase. Not a regular speaker. Sometimes nobody is there. They will tell, okay, nobody is available in the class, so you take the class. So I'm like a 12th man in the cricket team. So kindly forgive me if I have. Obviously, I didn't say anything beyond the scriptures, but I don't know how far we could make it understand. Those who are regularly hearing, maybe yes. Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. Vaishnavas, they don't see others' faults. They see the good part of it. So that is the greatness of devotees. Hare Krishna. Granthras Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Siddhanath Premanande. Hari Hari Bo.